Good morning and welcome, everyone. My name is Sonia Blake, and I'm President and CEO of the Valley Economic Alliance in Sherman Oaks, California. And we're very excited to have you join us for our Onyx African American Business Hub today. Just a little bit about the Alliance. The Valley Economic Alliance has been in existence for almost 30 years, and our goal is really to promote the community and the economy of the San Fernando Valley region. Our region includes 5 cities in northern Los Angeles County, not only the San Fernando Valley region of the city of Los Angeles, but also the cities of San Fernando, Calabasas, Burbank, and Glendale. It's a rich, vibrant hub of 160,000 businesses, 2 million residents, and 350 square miles of space. So it's quite a region. And we have a vibrant community of African-American business owners in the San Fernando Valley. And we're very excited about providing as many business owners as possible with the resources, information, and contacts they need to help them start a successful, profitable business in the San Fernando Valley region and to thrive. So today, we're very excited to have a wonderful program and some fantastic speakers to help us to share out that information. Before we get started with our speakers, however, I'd really like to acknowledge our board chair, Fred Gaines, who is here with us today. Thank you so much, Fred, for your leadership and your vision in helming us here at the Valley Economic Alliance. Would you like to say a couple words of hello?
Well, thank you, Sonia. Welcome, everyone. And Cleveland, thank you so much for being our main speaker today and for all of your great work with the Alliance over this past year. It's been wonderful to have you join us, and we look forward to continuing to work with you. And we have made the development of our diversity groups, including this Onyx group, a priority for our Alliance. Our board has been solid on doing that, and we're very, very pleased with the results. Hundreds and hundreds of people have joined our programs, and we've helped a number of businesses, and we're here to help businesses thrive in the San Fernando Valley, and we really appreciate you joining us, and Cleveland, all of your great work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fred. Wonderful. I join Fred in thanking Cleveland and HSBC Bank, our sponsor for today. I wanted to let you all know more details about our business assistance program, and we'll have information in the chat about that program. You know, entrepreneurship is kind of like a team sport, and you don't have to do it alone. You really need a team around you to help you to access capital, to home in on your marketing message and deliver digital marketing and traditional marketing, to find qualified staff, to find a location where you can operate and expand. And the list goes on to the different elements of building a thriving business. You're not alone. Here at the Alliance, we have a team of business advisors who, at no cost, well, there's a cost, thanks to our generous sponsors anyway, at no cost to our clients, you're able to get that free business assistance to help you, in particular, access capital to grow. We know that business capital is a great need for many, many companies. And traditionally, what we're finding is African-American owned businesses traditionally receive less lender financing than their mainstream counterparts. They have smaller amounts of loans when they do get them. And oftentimes they also have higher interest rates. So there's quite a bit of work that we need to do to make sure that we're supporting entrepreneurs to be able to get what they need. So I encourage you to check out our business assistance program and see if it's for you. So at this time, I very much like to introduce 2 speakers who are going to get us kicked off for today. So you've heard mention of the famous Cleveland Brown. Cleveland is the founder of Payscout, one of the leading technology companies in the San Fernando Valley region. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Cleveland and about my co-moderator, Keisha Buckanan, this morning, and then we'll get started. So as far as Cleveland is concerned, and getting to know Cleveland, Cleveland's bank career began at a bank, actually, on the financial side of payments and technology. He worked at Union Bank of California back in 1992. And so interesting, back at that time, it was the floppy disks. I don't know if any of you remember those. I remember those. And so he was using those to install and test the first at-home banking platform. So way back then, we're sowing the seeds of the technologies we have today. Then after graduating from UCLA in 1997, Cleveland went into entrepreneurship, and he started one of the first e-commerce platforms integrated into K through 12 public education. And he successfully implemented that platform throughout large school districts, even like LAUSD right here. And then he shifted his focus to global payments. So in 2008, Cleveland formed Payscout Limited International as an e-commerce payment gateway solution to banks abroad. And this is really exciting. He co-founded with Manpreet Singh in 2021, utilizing a payments model that blends domestic and global e-commerce merchant payment solutions. So under Cleveland's leadership, Payscout's been recognized multiple times as one of the fastest growing privately held companies, many years in a row, not just in the San Fernando Valley region, but in broader territories as well. And we're so thankful to have Cleveland on our board of directors at the Alliance, helping us to further establish the San Fernando Valley region as a global tech hub, and always willing to join us and help out wherever you can. So thank you, Cleveland, for joining us. And Keisha Buckanan, I want to ask Keisha to go ahead and join me as facilitator. We're going to pin both Cleveland and Keisha so all of our participants can see them. So Keisha Buckanan is HSBC's Regional Community Development Manager for 3 states, Florida, well, Mid-Atlantic and West Coast, so 3 territories. And she's been in banking for over 20 years, a total of 13 years with HSBC Bank. So throughout her career, she's held many leadership roles like branch manager and others. And Keisha provides support to organizations in the local entrepreneurial ecosystem. So she really understands the needs of our small businesses and how they can be very competitive in helping themselves to get access to capital, as well as how to build their businesses. So she's mentored many business owners. She has helped companies to perfect their business plans, and so that's great. And she's helped others to build networks in their communities so that they can be ready for what's coming with their businesses. Keisha graduated with her bachelor's in organizational management and was born in Jamaica. Okay, that's a wonderful fun fact. We have a very interesting Caribbean tie today. My parents were both born in Jamaica. Keisha is from Jamaica, and Hemala, who's also one of our speakers coming up, also has a Caribbean connection, as does Cleveland. So we'll hear about all those wonderful Caribbean connections shortly. Well, with those introductions, I am very, very happy to turn it over to my co-moderator, Keisha, and ask you to go ahead and kick us off with our fireside chat with Cleveland Brown.
Perfect. Thank you, Sonia. Such a pleasure to be here again. Just really that my background in commercial and business banking just gives me that passion for small business. So I want to dive into Cleveland. So I know many of you are curious about little insights about him. So my first question is just going to go back to foundation. So Cleveland, where did you grow up, and where were the early signs that you might end up being a serial entrepreneur? Tell us.
All right. Well, really good question. First off, I want to thank you for having me in the Valley Economic Alliance and being able to share a little bit of my story to hopefully inspire others. And I definitely appreciate that opportunity. So let me just start off by saying that. Thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Fred, and everyone here that's engaged. Hopefully you find some good information here to take into the workplace, into your personal lives. But my story, I grew up, that's where I'm from. I grew up in San Jose, in Silicon Valley, right in the heart of the Bay Area. And growing up in the Bay Area, I literally had on one side IBM, and on the other side, Apple. So I had both of these really computing pioneers that I would literally as a kid run through their campuses as shortcuts to get to playgrounds or courts or whatever it may be. And the benefit of that for me growing up is the fact that I had these two competing computer systems integrated into education. And in Silicon Valley, obviously being so close, that's where Apple really put the roots down in terms of getting computing into classrooms, as well as IBM. So I really got to learn from a very young age about how these applications, most importantly, solve problems. So really looking at, I grew up with that in my DNA, that one of the best ways to solve problems is through software, is through building applications to make things easier, make life easier, and to automate where you can. So that was the earliest sign, is really kind of seeing that. And when we think about being an entrepreneur and we think about business, I mean, Apple is probably one of those stories that jumps up, and everyone knows the Steve Jobs story or seen the movie. But the point of that is that I was inspired at a very young age. So I'd say that the early sign was really that upbringing. Also, part of that is that on my family side, half of my family were entrepreneurs. The other half were in the workplace, and being inspired by my grandfather. So that's really where it started. He had a very successful advertising agency that started in Burbank here, and they ended up moving to Omaha, Nebraska to centralize printing and being able to advertise and print for very large organizations at the time, like Kmart or Montgomery Wards, or these large institutions that put out weekly, daily print, as well as large catalogs. And he basically built a successful business, being located there and distributing nationwide. And that followed up with my uncle, which my uncle bought the business, worked for the business, bought the business from his dad, continued the business, sold the business, bought the business back, sold it again. And I think he bought it back one more time or created a new one, sold that one. So there's this history of seeing entrepreneurialism work within my family. So those were some of the early signs for me to know that it's possible, because I had tangible influences on my life. And a very specific influence, which I'll try to be quick as possible, is you mentioned that I worked for Union Bank of California. So interesting enough, as very young, as probably 18, 19 years old, tasked with a very specific project to help integrate a software system to tie in at-home banking and in what they call in-store banking, and to tie those systems together. And I figured out how to do that accidentally. So I was tasked with something. I was the last branch in this pilot, and they said, here's the technical documents. Go ahead and put this together, make it work, report back to us. Management gave it to me. Great. Young kid, eager, I can knock this out. Went, followed the diagram, didn't work, fail. Oh no, what am I going to do? I can't go back to my manager and say, I can't do this. So tried, fail. Next day comes around. I don't say anything. I go, let me just try again the next day. Fail. Comes to the final day of where it needed to be integrated, and I need to report back. So I decided to take the technical documents and put them aside and just look at what I was doing myself and try to look at the configuration, and I figured it out, bottom line. So I didn't use the technical documents, figured this thing out, good to go. And got it up and running and reported. Probably a week later, I get called into my manager's office. Manager tells me, Cleveland, need to talk to you. And I go, okay, I know I didn't follow these documents. What did I do? So she sat me down. She's like, you didn't follow the plan on this, or what happened here? And I go, well, I didn't follow the plan, but I got it to work. Sorry. And she said, well, management wants to talk to you. The engineering group wants to talk to you. A bunch of people need to talk to you now. And then she says, whatever you did, fantastic job. And I'm, whoa, okay. So anyways, I talked to the group. Basically, I figure out that I resolved the $40 million issue for the bank at the time, where they had invested in hardware and software and a bunch of other things. And they basically said, we were the last pilot, none of the other pilots worked. And they said, thank you for solving this $40 million problem. And my reward was a $50 gift certificate to CompUSA at the time. So once that happened, that particular experience, I realized, hey, you know what? If I could solve these problems, I can build a business for myself, and there may be a better reward at the end of those, at the end of that. So sorry, so much time. Right? I think it's important. Yes. So there you go. Those are my early times.
I didn't even know some of those things. That's great.
That is, but you know what? The great thing about that is that you had the tech and that problem solving and that synergy from a young age and in your DNA, from going back and forth from IBM in Apple. So that was great. I mean, coming from a bank in so many years, I remember those days where they're trying to figure things out and just here's a script, go for it. So kudos to you, great job, and that just catapult you to such a great career and life ahead pretty much after that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just want to also encourage those of us who may be in the Zoom room here who didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial family to have that, to grow up steeped in that, still have opportunities to connect with other groups and network like Onyx and, various online groups and, kind of connecting your network and making sure that you are feeding yourself with a network and continually to grow in that way, as Cleveland was able to. So that's great. So take us forward on the journey a little bit, Cleveland, in terms of founding Payscout. Now, you're a serial entrepreneur, so that was that first endeavor, and then that launched you into what has turned out to be, this amazing, auspicious career. And culminating in Payscout. So tell us about the founding of Payscout. What does it do exactly? How do businesses interact with Payscout? What's the value add that they get? And then how did you get it started? And what can you share for other business owners that can learn from that?
So, it'd be good to give a little history. So serial entrepreneur, yes. One of the first ventures that I went upon was actually building out a 501c3. And it was a platform built to enhance communication amongst student athletes and kind of build this network to help them exceed in academics and athletics. And built a platform, software platform to solve a number of problems. That platform became international. It was an international platform that student athletes engaged with. I decided to take the platform and apply it to all schools K through 12. So that's something that you mentioned in the beginning. Part of my background was we built out, one of the first to build out a platform for both communication and e-commerce. So as that platform expanded nationwide, one of the big requests that came in from the communication side was to build the payment side. So how could I help improve the payment process that happened within education? As I think we all know, was something that's even today still fragmented, as well as how payments are executed outside and how they get inside these particular public schools. So as I started to build out the software, I actually use, and this is something that today you see, it's called an API economy. So whenever we're building a solution, we're going to have a core, and then we're going to take third parties, and we're going to integrate third parties in order to solve problems that our core system can't. So the third parties, I had third party payment components to help handle the payment side that was required by schools. And what would happen is they would use my core software, yet the payment side of the software would fail. Not because of me, not because of the integrations, it's just they would have outages. They would go down. And what would happen is the schools would come to me and say, hey, your software doesn't work. And I'm like, well, it does work, but you can't explain that to them that a third party is not working. So basically it forced me to figure out, okay, how do I take over this payment side of the software solution? And I got forced into that. So it wasn't something that I started. I was really just solving problems, but then as you solve problems, you're forced to, if you have bottlenecks, you have to figure out how to relieve those bottlenecks. So that was my foray into payment. So I had to start really understanding it and building out applications for that. As I started to do that, and that became almost had a life of its own. So you want to look at Payscout. Payscout was really a spin-off of that initial application. And for me, I looked at that spinoff as something that extended beyond just education. I looked at it as something that extended to international. It's extended internationally, kind of across the board, and really wanted to understand how the intersection of payments and technology can impact globally. So that's kind of where Sonia's talking a little bit about Payscout Limited, that I started in 2008. Payscout Limited was started because I decided to travel abroad, just had particular connections in the Caribbean, and decided to really sit with, at the time, it was prime ministers, ministers of finance, directors of banks, and understand how this technology could help form economic policy. So I spent time in Antigua, St. Kitts, you name it. You name the islands out there, Barbados. I spent a lot of time on all these islands, really trying to understand payments, as I said, and travel, tourism, and government. And that's where Payscout Limited started, as a consulting company. It evolved very quickly to where you talked about meeting my partner, Manpreet Singh, into what it is today. What Payscout is today is a global payment processing platform. And it's built to do three things for businesses. One, increase payments and how a business accepts payments. Two, improve security of payments, which are very critical to infrastructure, and to reduce the costs of payments and how you bring those payments in, and making them cost prohibitive so they're not impacting your business in an adverse way. And really what separates us is that it's an integrated system, meaning we look at all of the different softwares that someone may utilize, and we integrate those softwares into our platform to optimize the success for each particular business. And the main focus for us, for a business owner, and this is best advice I can give any business owner when it comes to Payscout, is that the data that you get from payments about how your customers pay, the methods they use to pay, how often they pay, their geographical locations, their IP locations, their connections. There's so much information about how to identify what we call an ideal customer profile for a business, that we can help a business do that so that they can, most importantly, optimize their marketing and optimize their time in terms of identifying the right people to get their message out to have a profitable business.
And I think you went right into what I was, the next question I was just thinking, and besides, knowing your client's demographics and the ideal client and the ideal picture will help. Tell me, what do you think are the three most the critical factor in succeeding when building, a profitable business?
Interesting. So that's actually a really loaded question, believe it or not, because building a profitable business, I guess we'd have to, I would take that question back a little bit and say, let's define profitability. Like what does that mean? So I think the first question for any business owner is, what is it that they're trying to achieve? Right? Because profitability, from my standpoint, comes in many factors. There's cultural profitability, And what I mean by that is, what kind of business do you want to create? What is it that you want to put into the universe? What kind of business? What is that message? To pure profitability. What is it that you want to earn? Right? Because you have to define from a profitability standpoint what you want to earn. It cannot be just a number in the air. Right? I want to be a billionaire. No, it doesn't work that way. Right? Like what is it that you want to earn, and what's going to make you happy? That's very, very critical. And then I would say the last piece of that is, from a profitability standpoint, is to understand the exit, right? Like what creates a profitable exit for you, or non-exit? Is it just freedom? Do you just want to be the freedom to manage yourself and manage your own time? Do you want to manage others, right? What does that look like? Just you? Is it 2 people, 3 people, 10 people? You have to define that. So that's the first thing I would do. I think you were on mute. Okay. The first thing that I would do is make sure I define that. Now, if I define that in terms of dollars and cents, then what is the target, right? So that's the number one most critical aspect to success, is to have defined goals. So define that goal. Once you've defined that target in terms of how much you want to earn, the next piece of that is to emulate someone. So what the best advice I could give an entrepreneur is to find someone to emulate. And I would actually advise, before you start your own business, go work for a business that you want to emulate. And the reason why I say that is that you don't want to reinvent the wheel. So I would say one of the factors that really impact the success of entrepreneurs is that they simply just jump in without really having a model and really taking the time to emulate and understand how other businesses do things. So that way you can evolve that, because your job as an entrepreneur should just be evolving what exists. And if you can evolve what exists, then the path becomes much easier and much clearer, and the opportunities that come up become more tangible. So I would say that's the second piece of it. Probably the most important thing at the end of the day is spend most of your time marketing. And you're going to spend most of the time marketing yourself, by the way. So you're going to have to market yourself, and then market your business and your ideas. And I would say those probably are the 3 most critical points to be successful.
Love it. That is so amazingly insightful. Really, really helpful. Well, just in the couple of minutes that we have left, Cleveland, we want to talk money, right? We want to ask you about that and capital. We've been hearing about the wealth gap. You hear about the wealth gap. What does that really mean? Well, I'll tell you, for example, the Brookings Institute has quantified that the average Caucasian family has a net worth of $171,000, while the typical African-American family has a net worth of $17,150, a huge gap in the amount of wealth being controlled by our different households. And it's worsened even after the pandemic. So given that the African-American community is notably undercapitalized, we don't necessarily have friends and family who can give a startup capital or growth capital. What do you think? How do you think Black companies, Black business owners in particular, or anyone who's undercapitalized, can access startup capital or growth capital if they don't have friends and family that are wealthy enough to, invest? Any thoughts on that?
Yes, I do have thoughts. I would say number one, and I've done this, is understand the options, right? So where does capital come from? It doesn't just come from friends and family. And as you, Sonia, I would actually say talk to Sonia, by the way, understanding grants, financial aid, incubators, crowdfunding, like really take the time to understand all of the different potential sources for capital. I think taking the time to educate yourself in regards to that is extremely important. I would say the second portion of that is to seek mentorship, right? So one thing that, once again, Sonia talked about a village. I think the village really, the pillars of an entrepreneur are going to be the mentors that they bring on board and continue to bring on board as they evolve in their journey. So building a network of mentors is extremely important. And the reason for that is the reason why, what we're trying to do when we have limited resources is we're trying to increase what I call your circles of influence, right? So really understand that these circles of influence play a very important role in terms of what you're going to be able to accomplish. So when I talked about spending most of the time marketing yourself, you're marketing yourself to seek mentors. So that's one part of it. And the second part of it is to also join network circles, find different avenues, different networks that are out there, and they're not all going to be for you, but the more you join those particular circles of influence and those networks, the much broader your circles of influence become. And you will be able to find capital if you invest your time in those circles of influence. So that's what I would say is, that's the advice that I would give. And the Valley Economic Alliance is one of those circles of influence.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Cleveland. And indeed, we do have an executive in residence program that are free mentors for the folks who are in our business assistance program. So definitely check that out if you are looking to expand your mentoring prospects. Wow, Cleveland, thank you so much. I know Keisha would join me in thanking you for those great insights. I want to encourage everyone on here to, type your questions into the chat. Cleveland will hang out for at least a few minutes and be able to look and answer those questions in the chat. I also noticed we have Marcel Watts from CDC Small Business Finance with us today, and her contact information is there. This is one of our partners, a very reputable CDFI, helping folks, an alternative lender, helping folks who need additional assistance with capital. And we have some great lending partners that we work with for that. And speaking of great lending partners, I'd like to introduce our next speaker also and bring Hemala Ramgahan, a Senior Business Relationship Manager at the Commercial Banking Group with HSBC Bank. And HSBC is one of our banking partners that we have relied upon to provide education for our network and helping connect them to resources, information, and opportunities. And the folks at the bank are so helpful. Keisha and Hemala and her colleagues, whom we'll be meeting over the course of this series, they will help you to find something. If they can't help you, they'll help you to find a resource provider who can. And that's really exciting to have a partner like that. So I want to introduce Hemala and have her talk about business planning, because when you're looking for capital, when you're looking to expand your business, whether it be investors or bankers or other kinds of financing, you really need to understand your company and get to the bottom of how are you planning to build this business concept and how are you planning to make money? That target that Cleveland talked about and where you're going. So Hemala joined HSBC Bank in 2006, and she's held a variety of roles from personal banking to wealth management and small business and commercial banking. So she's part of a team with annual revenue that works with and helps commercial clients who have annual revenues of between $5 and $50 million. And her team focuses on HSBC's international capabilities to offer solutions like cash management, foreign exchange, trade services, and credit. And Hemala, raised in Trinidad and Tobago. So we have a very Caribbean connection on the Zoom, in the Zoom room today. And so she earned her Bachelor of Business Administration in Finance and Investment from Bernard Baruch College in New York City and lives in Brooklyn. So welcome, Hemala. We're so glad to have you with us. Tell us about business planning and whatever you may have to share.
I'm gonna start, and then Hemala is gonna jump in right after. Yes. So
of course, Keisha, sorry about that.
No, it's all good. It's good. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen, and then I'm just going to, dive in. As Sonia said, having a business plan is a pivotal, it's vital. It's vital to a business for many reasons. For example, a business plan is a document that a bank or financial institution, a potential investor looks at. That doesn't mean that if you don't have a business plan, you won't be able to get funding or get the support you need, but it is a pivotal piece of getting that business started. And it's always good to put things to paper, right? I always think of that saying, and I always mess it up though. If you don't plan, you plan to fail, something like that. I'm so bad with analogies, but it's okay. You kind of get what I mean. You have to have a plan in place. So we're going to talk about developing a business plan today. And throughout this, we do have a facilitators guide that we can send afterwards, send out to each of you, or you can reach out to Sonia and the team at Valley and get the guide and just make notes and stuff like that. But feel free, take screenshots, whatever you need to do, especially for those that haven't really constructed their business plans yet. So throughout this workshop, we'll learn how to create the business plan. We'll map that maps out your vision for your business. Whether it's long-term, short-term, you'll see all of that, and we'll answer some questions at the end. But let's just dive in so that you can get a good feel of what exactly is a part of getting your business plan done. So key thing, right? So as I said, we'll identify what it is, we'll review the key business points. But the first thing that we want to really look at and talk about, right, is what is that business plan? As I mentioned earlier, it is the document that it outlines the financial piece of things, it outlines the operational, it outlines your marketing goals. And as Cleveland said, one of the first things to really do is to have that marketing piece, right? So we'll talk about all of those things throughout the workshop. Okay. So the first thing that we want to do is talk about the audience for your business plan. So the business plan might change depending on who you have in mind that will be seeing your business plan. So say, for example, if it is a bank, right, you want to make sure that that it is created for a bank to see. Or you want to make sure, if it's an investor, you want to make sure that it is created for an investor, kind of showing them what it is, how, if they invest in it, what's their, what are they being a part of, and a potential business partner. However, business plans can easily be valued to you, right, as an entrepreneur as well. So when I say that is, as an entrepreneur, you can use it as a guide or as a map in order to see, all right, this is where I am. What else do I need to do? What do I need to put in place? What are the things that will come next? So that's some of the things that some of the things that you need to keep in mind of who will be looking at this. So one of the two that I want to talk to you about is lenders and investors, right? So when you borrow from a lender, it's a little bit different than when an investor, you're getting funds from an investor, and you definitely want to tailor your presentation, and whether it's verbal or whether it's on paper, for both. So for example, borrowing from the bank is with the promise to pay back. The lender, it doesn't typically want equity, which is a part ownership in your business, right? So the lender, is mostly interested in your ability to pay back the loan once they give you the funds. And, so this business plan will show them, will teach them and show them that, all right, this is what your funds will be used to do. Now, when it comes to an investor, obtaining the financial support from an investor, it's called more of an equity investing. So the investor will get maybe a little, and it all depends. It all depends on your arrangement also, but typically they will have a stake in your business, like a part, maybe a 10%, 15%. It brings me to think of like Shark Tank, right? When you watch Shark Tank, you see where okay, I'll take 20% of the business and you'll get the capital you need. So things like that, you have to keep that in mind when you're thinking of the both sources of who's going to really see that that business plan. All right, so next is the different parts that a business plan should have. So we'll touch on throughout this, we'll touch on like the executive summary, what executive summary is, the company's description, how important it is to capture that audience right away, manage the management piece and the organization piece, the market research, the products and service, whatever your product or service line is, and marketing and the sales piece of it. And you see how many times we talk about marketing, because as Cleveland said, that is, that's very important, and it takes up a large percentage of your day as a business owner and entrepreneur. And also the financial projections, which is very important, that you're given realistic projections when it comes to that. So the first thing we want to talk about is the executive summary, right? So the executive summary is basically the introduction to the business. It just says that it really should kind of describe the business, its employees, touch on that, the product and services that you'll sell, and the audience, and the ideal target customers, and also, the business future and the industry's future. So it's key, because if you open a business that, when you predict and you see that the industry really has no future, right, then that ties into your business. So it's really key. And this should be just something really small, in a nutshell, maybe like a half a page or even a page, depending on how meaty it is. So that is key, that you have a really good executive summary, because that will be one of the first things that that your audience sees. The next thing we want to look at is the company description. So the company description is, a high-level description of the company, the business model. It touches on the key employees and their position, because you want to show that you have good people working for your organization that is going to elevate the business and really make it successful. The mission statement, as well as, why your business is useful for customers. Why is this business valuable? So those are some key things, when you're describing your business, to really capture. The next thing is you want to talk about the management in the organization, the organization. So you want to make sure to have like org chart in some sense, the ownership information. You want to look at the organizational and legal structure of the business. You want to look at the board of directors or the advisors, again, because when you list, say, an advisor like Cleveland, that comes with such a wealth of knowledge and experience and expertise, you want to make sure to list that. So I know, okay, you have good support, you have a good board of, someone on the board of your directors or advisors that's really going to make sure this business catapult, because they've been successful in their ventures, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pass it to Hemala to just give us a little crash course on our marketing research, and then we'll circle back. Over to you, Hemala. I don't know if you.
Thank you, Keisha, for passing it over. So market research, it includes information about your customers, competitors, primary target audience, and the market and industry's potential for growth. As you write this section, consider the following questions. Who will your customers be? What are their demographics or specific needs? What other products and businesses in your industry? If you've observed any trends in the market, what are your takeaways from these observations? And how much market share do you plan on gaining? Additionally, you have to think about who your primary competitors are and how are you different from them? What the legal and regulatory considerations do businesses in your industry face? Analyzing your competition shows investors that you're up to date on the market and you're constantly evolving. Once you understand your market, you can fine-tune your product and even pivot to a new product based on your conclusions. Next slide to product. Your product or service line describes exactly what your company offers, its current and potential customers. The product or service line section should contain a detailed description of the products and services your company offers, as well as any copyrights, intellectual property, or other unique advantages that help your products or services stand out from the competition in your industry or market. As you write this section, consider the following questions. What is your product or service? How will it benefit your customers? How is your product or service better than the other products out there? Do you have unique information or a way of doing something that can be protected legally through a patent, for example? Have you started a process of protecting this information? If your product is fully developed, or is it in the prototype or ideation stage? What else needs to be done before you take on the product or service to market? After describing exactly what your company does or sells, you will share how you will make customers aware of what you offer and how your sales process works. Let's take a look at the next section on marketing and sales. Marketing is the process by which companies communicate with their customer base to promote their products or services. A sale is a directed activity by which companies sell their product to those customers. As you write this section, consider the following. Do you plan to grow by hiring additional employees, acquiring other companies, or by franchising? Will you enter new markets or offer new products or services over time? What channels are best suited for communicating with your customers? How will you advertise your products or service? Will you sell directly to consumers or to businesses, or will you have a sales team? Next, we'll look at financial projections. Financial projections can combine your current financial data with a projection, or a reasonable guess of how much revenue your business will generate in the future based on the market and previous sales. This section of your business plan should include information about your balance sheet, details of your profit and loss, and how you manage your financial operations and cash. The financial projection section should contain three most important financial documents. Your balance sheet, which shows what your company owns, which is its assets, and what it owes, the liabilities. Your profit and loss statement, which shows growth and whether your business is profitable. Your cash flow statement. It shows all the cash that's going in and out of your business. As you write this section, also consider what is your business's financial situation? What do you think you can accomplish in the next 3 years? If your company is in the red, what kind of resources do you need to break even and start making a profit? Who is responsible for maintaining and periodically reviewing your financial documents? Do you have a financial operations manager, or are you managing this yourself? What systems or software do you use to track and manage your business finances? As you work through a worksheet, think about the research, industry statistics, and estimate your company's profits and losses. Analyze trends in your financial data and make predictions. Use graphs and other visual aids. Be realistic. Base your projections on as much data as you can, and project 3 years into the future. Friends, business partners, and family are great resources when you need help with building a business plan. However, there are many other resources available to you. So let's take a look at them. Government resources such as SCORE. The federal government supports mentorship networks such as SCORE, where you can Meet with expert mentors in person or online for counseling sessions. You can also reach out to a local small business development center. If you belong to a specific group, there may be resources available that are tailored to you. Veterans, for example, can access the Veterans Business Outreach Center. Financial institutions also have resources. Many of them partner with local not-for-profits and have their own learning centers and websites. They can connect you with individual bankers who specialize in small business lending. The information bankers look for may be very different than what investors look for. So it's a good idea to involve them early on.
And I want to jump in just really quick, Hemala, and I want to talk about first, we mentioned earlier about CDFIs, which are Community Development Financial Institutions. We have over 1,000 CDFIs nationwide, and as a partner of the Valley Alliance, Economic Alliance, you have resources, it should be honestly your first point of contact, because they're able to direct you in all the different areas, and provide you with that technical assistance, that one-on-one coaching, that access to capital, just really work hard with entrepreneurs to start up your business like we're doing now with this presentation and this event. But definitely reach out to them first, and just keep in mind that a CDFI, for when you think about a bank, unfortunately, when you're a startup, sometimes the bank wants to see, years of financials or years of experience with running the business. So the ideal place is to go to your local partners like the Valley and, get those directions, get the support financially in CDFIs. Okay, sorry for that plug.
No worries. And let's summarize what you've learned today. So we've covered the basic outline of a business plan and what it entails. You're not prepared to create a business plan from scratch or review and improve your existing business plan. As you evaluate your business plan, this worksheet can help you stay organized. So feel free to speak with a representative from your financial institution to learn more. Thank you for your time today.
Wonderful. Wow. Thank you, Keisha and Hemala, both such great insights. We really appreciate that. It's so important. You hear about a business plan, but what are the different segments and sections of it? And what do those consist of? So that was incredibly helpful. Thank you so much. I know somebody was asking a question toward either one of you could answer about locations, branch locations. I did my best to answer while you were.
No, absolutely.
Feel free to share.
Yes, no, and I'm very transparent when it comes to HSBC. So our branch locations, we have really kind of restructured and strategize our bank. And when it comes to the local branch and the brick and mortar, you'll find a few locations that are in Los Angeles. But when it comes to small business, I would recommend honestly reaching out to Valley and reaching out to CDFIs in your local market.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And maybe since we have a couple more minutes, maybe you could distinguish a little bit between traditional lending and bank lending and CDFIs, and maybe their sweet spots. Maybe some folks know, maybe some folks don't really know the distinction.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And Hemala, I can take that one. All right. So as I mentioned before, when it comes to banks, right? And I was a commercial banker for 5 years. So I can be very straightforward when it comes to banking. There's no shame. It's just honest that when Hemala can attest to being a commercial banker and everything, a bank wants to see, maybe about 2 years of financials, or they want to see your financial history, before lending and giving you capital. Also, when it comes to a bank, there's also different things. You are always the guarantor. So your credit goes into place unless a financial institution has a startup plan. So if you're in those first 2 years and really just getting started, The CDFI is the Community Development Financial Institution. They are not institution, and they are a nonprofit organization that can provide capital. They can provide you with, equipment loans, micro lending, where there's something small, you just need maybe a couple of thousands to get you from, in your operating cycle, maybe your ARs are still outstanding, or your funds aren't collected yet, and things like that. So they would be the ones to go to. Now you're established, credit is good. You want to really kind of get, a lending relationship with your bank. I would always start out with my local bank, the one that I've had a relationship. You've had your checking, your savings with them. They see your liquidity. They see the money there. I would always start out with that. And I hope that answered the question. And if anybody wants to chime in, by all means, definitely jump in.
Good to know. Okay, very, very helpful. Any other questions from the?
Oh, you muted. So
There we
you went
go.
on mute.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Very helpful insights there. Any other questions for any of our speakers today? Please feel free to pop them in the chat.
And while they think of the other questions, again, we provided the participant. I know this was like a crash course, but the participants guide, you can reach out to Valley, and they can send you that. That participants guide, and you can really kind of dive in a little bit deeper.
Yes, absolutely. Wow, fantastic. We are going to have the replay on the registration page where you did register. Maybe Erica, you can put that link in the chat too, where the replay will be located, in case folks want to share that with friends, listen again, study it, etc. I know Cleveland put his contact information in the chat. Thank you so much for that, Cleveland. Keisha, Hemala, if you'd like folks to get in touch with you, if they have questions, feel free to put your contact info there as well. Our business assistance program, our link is there. thevalley.net/assistance is where you'll find more. Today is just the beginning of a conversation. We have there's so much more to talk about, so much more to learn. There's a network here for you. There's support here for you. We have additional events coming up. In fact, I put the link in the chat there. thevalley.net/events is where you can learn about what's happening and see our calendar of events. Next week, we're going to be hosting another webinar in this Onyx series, as well as the following week. So check out the calendar for that. We're going to be looking into influencer marketing. So we've talked about this business planning side. Next week, we'll talk more about the numbers, getting into those financial statements. I mean, we heard about the financial projections and the financial statements that are needed, but let's dive deep into the numbers, the balance sheet, the profit and loss, the statement of cash flows, so that you can really express in numbers what you tell people about your business in words. And then we'll move into more marketing, because it's not just about tracking our money and getting financing. We need to get customers. And so we're going to have a specialist come in and talk about influencer marketing, which is something you don't necessarily hear about very often. So we're going to learn the ins and outs of how to leverage the power of influencers to be able to advance our sales for our businesses. So
also, Sonia,
yes.
We don't, at HSBC Influence, we don't have access to chat. So if you want to share our information, if you want to share information, go right ahead. But we don't have the access to the chat.
Okay, no problem at all. Well, if anyone would like to get in touch with Keisha or Hemala, definitely do reach out to us at the Valley Economic Alliance. Okay, Erica put them in the chat. Good. I didn't have it handy, so Erica took care of that. And thank you so much, Erica, actually, for all of your help facilitating these wonderful programs and webinars and putting it all together. Appreciate you. Well, with that, I really just want to thank Cleveland. Amazing. You're such an inspiration, and the way that you share your wealth of knowledge with others who can emulate you. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for all of that and everything you do with the Alliance as a board member. I really want to thank Hemala Ramgahan also for being with us today. It's been a delight and a pleasure to learn from you about those nitty-gritty aspects of the business plan, like marketing research and financial projections and things that really need to be demystified. Really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And
Thanks,
Keisha,
Caitlin,
what
you are
can I
really an
say?
inspiration.
You're
Thank
always
you.
there with us. It's just wonderful to have your insight in putting the program together and your amazingly great questions for Cleveland, as well as your presentation on the business plan. Really appreciate you and your ongoing partnership. Thank you so much. And
Thank
to you,
you.
our participants, we just couldn't do this great work without you. We are passionate about business success. We're here for Black-owned businesses in the Valley. As Fred, our board chair, mentioned, this is a very important priority for us. And so do reach out and let us know how we can support your success. So on behalf of the whole board of directors and our team, have a great day, be well, and be in touch. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye now.